Last week, the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, visited Jamaica en route to the Summit of the Americas in Panama. While in Jamaica, among his other activities, President Obama held bilateral talks with the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller, and her cabinet members. On Thursday, the Office of the Prime Minister held a press briefing to share the details of the discussion. In a visit touted to improve relations between CARICOM and the United States, President of the USA, Barack Obama, visited Jamaica on April 8 to 9. During his visit, the President held bilateral talks with the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller, and her delegation. The government on Thursday, April 16, a week after the President's departure, relayed the details of the bilateral talks by way of a press conference at the Jamaica House. The head table of the conference included Joshua Polachek, representing the U.S. Embassy, Minister of Information, Senator Sandra Faulkner, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator A.J. Nicholson, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Paul Robotham. First to the microphone was Senator Nicholson, who notes that the agenda for the meeting focused on 5 areas: Jamaica's economic reform program, energy, trade and investment, security and human resource development. He says the Prime Minister used the occasion to commend the President on his implemented initiatives to tackle matters that were of national and international importance.
1. The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which helped to reverse the adverse economic and social impact of the 2008 economic crisis. 2. The efforts of the U.S. administration to deal with migration. And 3. The diplomatic initiatives designed to normalize relations between the United States and Cuba. The Prime Minister underlined the fact that Jamaica and the United States have enjoyed close diplomatic, economic, and cultural relations over many years. She noted that the United States is by far Jamaica's largest trading partner and acknowledged the fact that our exports to the United States have been aided by the Caribbean Basin Initiative, the WTO waiver for which happily has been extended to the 31st of December 2019. Noting the importance of the private sector as an engine of growth, the Prime Minister asked the President to assist in the development of Jamaica's tradable services and for addressing supply-side constraints in the production of goods. Prime Minister noted that on taking office in January 2012, this has to do with the economic reform program, the government had to set about rebuilding the economy and restoring confidence. She drew attention to the support received from the IMF Extended Fund Facility Agreement, other multilateral institutions, local financial institutions, and Jamaicans at large, both in the public and the private sectors.
Nicholson says the Prime Minister noted that the country's economic reform program is well on track, taking the opportunity to outline the achievements of her administration over the past 3 years. On the topic of energy, Minister Nicholson says the Prime Minister, acknowledging the role of energy as the most important factor affecting the country's economic performance for the last 40 years, outlined the focus on energy through a strategy.
1. Increasing the proportion of renewables of our energy mix. 2. Replacing aged and inefficient electricity generating units with more efficient energy-efficient types. Replacing oil with cheaper fossil alternatives, especially natural gas. In this regard, we were very pleased to hear that the United States government intends to permit export of natural gas to countries like Jamaica. And 4, promoting conservation in the use of energy regardless of the fuel source.
During the bilateral meetings, Mr. Simpson-Miller also welcomed the announcement made at a meeting in Trinidad with U.S. Vice President Joe Biden in January, during which a $90 million investment was proclaimed for the development of wind energy in the region by Blue Mountain Renewables Limited. On the matter of security, Senator Nicholson notes that the Prime Minister expressed gratitude for U.S. engagement in this area.
She looked forward to the continued close cooperation of the United States government to further improve our capacity to undertake counter-narcotics activities, to tackle the illegal arms trade, to counter human trafficking, enhance fisheries protection, and expand capacity for search and rescue operations.
During the bilateral meeting, the matter of Jamaica's first national hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, being cleared of the charge of mail fraud in the U.S. in 1923 was brought to the President's attention. Minister Nicholson says the Prime Minister expressed hope that the United States will find the position to exonerate Garvey and have his conviction record expunged. She asked President Obama for support within his authority within the White House and beyond, noting that Jamaica will follow suit through the appropriate channels. Relaying the response of the President of the United States, the Foreign Affairs Minister says President Obama pointed to the strong family connections between Jamaica and the USA.
He applauded the government of Jamaica for the work done in dealing with fiscal challenges and underlined the importance attached by the United States to the efforts of Jamaica in the areas of rule of law and corruption. Noting that the Caribbean had suffered tremendously from the 2008 recession, the President agreed that energy was a great concern throughout the region and including in Jamaica. He said that the United States was in a position to provide concrete ideas and assistance. And he cited the examples of OPIC supporting the largest private sector wind project in Jamaica and the largest solar project in the entire Caribbean. The President undertook to initiate other projects through the creation of a task force on energy.
On the issue of trade and investment, Mr. Nicholson notes that the U.S. President pointed to the need for joint work to implement the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement and outlined his support for efforts of the World Bank and the IMF.
The President pointed in particular to the need for investment in education and training, and he promised to lend support in these areas. On the issue of security, the President of the United States praised the professionalism of the Jamaican security forces and pledged to deepen cooperation in this area, working through the CBSI to expand projects considered by Jamaica to be beneficial. CBSI, the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative. The President looked forward to the Youth Town Hall meeting later in the day, I think you were there, and spoke of a $68 million development program for youth in the hemisphere to support education, training, and employment. And in addition, the President launched the Youth Leaders of the Americas Initiative. The program will commence this year with about 24 entrepreneurs and civil society leaders, and will be expanded next year to 250 young leaders.
Minister Nicholson says Jamaica is expected to benefit from this program, with one aim being to promote linkages with United States investors to improve competitiveness of youth in the region. The topic of Cuba was also brought up in the discussions. Minister Nicholson says the stage was also set in other areas that will be addressed at a later time.
There were further discussions in which Jamaica reiterated appreciation for the help of the United States administration in the deal with the IMF, and pointed to the larger issue of economic growth, which was now the big priority. This required growth capital from the World Bank and others. The question of pursuing discussions on debt relief was also put on the table for Jamaica and CARICOM. It was agreed that the Minister of Finance would pursue these matters the following week, this week, on his visit to Washington, D.C. Jamaica also pointed to the need for the United States to increase its investment footprint in Jamaica as a means to spur growth and job creation. In reply, the President indicated that his team had heard the Jamaican proposals and would follow up on the international finance issues that had been raised. He also undertook to remain in contact with about a broader investment strategy.
The president's visit in Jamaica, which lasted for less than 24 hours, also saw him visiting the Bob Marley Museum, laying a wreath at the Tomb of Unknown Soldiers of World Wars I and II, hosting a CARICOM summit and a town hall meeting at the University of the West Indies.